of doing our new code, the JSPA. A component of that is a planning commission for the JSPA, which is the purpose of which it's a little bit different than a planning commission like we have for the county. The purpose of this is to make sure that applicants that bring projects that qualify within the JSPA area conform to the statutes of the JSPA. It's very specific as to architecture and landscape and a lot of different issues. Doug will kind of explain how this fits and how it works. So you've got to change your thinking here just a little bit because it's not quite what we would call a planning commission in the same sense that we do a county planning commission.
We're starting to get calls from property owners in the Jordanelle and the JSPA area that are setting up the first step before they formally apply for preliminary or master plan approval. And we assume they wouldn't go forward until the MIDA tax increment funding was in place, but we're hearing, in fact we have a meeting next month with a group who's wanting to submit. That means we've got to have all the applications in place, which we're working on. We've got to have a planning commission in place, which hopefully we'll get some direction from you tonight. So the way the process will work in the JSPA area is that there will still be a DRC process, which we use now, meaning engineering, public works, planning, fire, health, will all be on this electronic sign-off when a project comes in. But those recommendations will go to a planning commission. It's a separate planning commission in the valley. And the makeup of it is a 5-member commission with 2 alternates. So you've got, number 1, a recreation person, which we've always kind of assumed would be a representative from Deer Valley, so they could look at the ski runs and the trails and that type of thing. Number 2 would be a landscape architect, and this would be someone that would probably be a paid position. We've talked about Ray Whitchurch. I can think of another person that I wouldn't mind having on there. The 3rd person would be an architect that deals with buildings. The 4th person would be appointed by the county council. Could be a citizen at large. Same with the 5th person, appointed by the county council. And then we would have 2 alternates. And it was always intended that those alternates would be a landscape architect and an architect, because if you have someone like a Ray Whitchurch on the planning commission, they may be doing a project that they have to recuse themselves on, and we'd want someone to fill their place. So this is more of a technical committee that's going to look at how the village is created, the plazas, the architecture of the buildings, the landscaping, all those things, as well as the ski runs and the lifts and all that stuff. So I'm hoping to get some guidance from you. The other question is how we pay them and how will they get appointed, because we have a procurement process, and maybe Mike can speak to that a little bit further, but I just want to make sure I'm not going to get in trouble with having, you know, a landscape architect and an architect as a paid position on the planning commission and how I select them. Because we're going to want to find someone that fills that niche of a resort, someone that develops resort communities, and not just, you know, a guy who designs homes type person.
Section 7, could we have them just as reserve, so we wouldn't have to pay them unless they were called?
That's exactly what it'd be. Yeah, those 2 other people wouldn't ever be contacted unless someone was going to recuse themselves.
Yeah, you'd know ahead of time if they would have to before everybody.
What do you think the dollar amount would have to pay?
Well, I'm seeing around $100 an hour. It might even be more, because they factor in the overhead for secretaries and billing and building and all that stuff.
But you'd go out with an RFP.
Well, that's part of the question, is if I send out an RFP, I'm going to want someone that's, I don't want to say local, but, you know, Park City, Summit County, Wasatch.
There is provision in our code that allows, if it's specialized, that we we solicit from at least 3 people, we can do that rather than doing a general RFP. So,
And both of these categories, or both of these positions, would fall within that code.
yeah, they'll both be specialized, particularly where it's mountainous resort area.
Where would the money come from that would then pay?
Well, somehow we'd have to implement a fee structure so that when they apply through this process, they'd have to pay for this as well. This wouldn't be coming out of the general fund, this would be paid for.
We still require them to put in a out-of-pocket fund, do we not?
Yeah, that's where it would come from, is we'd set up an
We just
out-of-pocket
set up
account.
and include this as part of the
We
out-of-pocket.
just include part of it.
Yeah,
And they would only have to meet when there was an application, right?
yep, so they do an hourly billing for the length of the planning commission meeting.
As they review the application.
So it sounds like Mike has a process for us to solicit people for that, and I can come up with names.
Would they be the first one to see the application, or would you screen the applications first
What,
to make sure they meet the general criteria before it went to this?
my department would be staffed to this planning commission, just like we're staffed to the Valley Planning Commission. So we would do a staff report, we would do a PowerPoint and a presentation, and in that we would say they meet the code, they don't meet the code, and then it'd go on to them for a decision.
Would you envision as an application comes in, would you run it through positions 1, 2, and 3 first to have them do their professional evaluation of the application, and then after that's done, then the 5 members would get together to review and would take the reports from the other 3, and is that how this would work?
It would
They're
be
not
just
doing
like,
a review.
it would be just like our planning commission is now. They'd get a staff report in the mail a week before the planning commission meeting, a packet. It'd have all the information in it, the site plan, the building renderings, and then we'd meet and they'd make a formal motion.
So you're just using 1, 2, and 3, so you'd have their expertise on that process?
Yeah. We feel the stakes are a little higher up here, and we've got to make sure things are done right. We also need to make sure they're done right, and hopefully with the vision statement, mission statement, we can tighten that up a little bit, but we've got to do things right up there.
So back to the selection process of this commission, how would that work?
Well, I do need the 2 names of whether those are citizens at large or whatever, to, I guess they need to turn in an application.
They need to turn them into me, and then I would present them to you.
So you'd select them based on that, where they live, those 2? Because it says one needs to be a citizen in the JSPA area. Right.
Well, that's not code. That's something I kind of thought would be nice to have.
Code is that they're appointees by the council.
So you'd have
That's
to see
the
what
code.
came in.
Yeah, the top one's the code. I just kind of broke it down.
Okay.
And I guess on the professionals, we can just go forward and I can solicit some names. And Mike, would you present those to the council as well?
I'd have to, basically, we would decide who we wanted those positions, and I'd have to present them to council to get them approved.
Would we have them under contract?
We basically need to sign some sort of an agreement for a period of time. Do we have time limits on this defined in the code?
Says up there on the last line, each member shall hold his or her office until such time as he or she has resigned and the successor has been appointed. So I guess there's not a time period on the board.
Yeah, and I think we may have to change that so it reflects our own planning commission bylaws.
We probably ought to have a little say in that one.
Yeah.
Once you get it in, you don't want to be there till they're quit.
But if I get 3 names for each one of those, then we can run them by the council.
Do you advertise that in the paper? I mean, how do we do with other website, paper?
Well, in this case where it's a specialized thing, if he's got some people in mind, we can specifically
No, I mean the
solicit.
citizens, excuse me, because I thought he said he
The
wanted.
citizens, we can put on our website and advertise like we do the others.
Is it the same process as any other board?
Fill out an
For the 2
application.
citizens.
Most of the boards Mike appoints, but he brings it to us
Well, they have to be ratified by the council.
by the council.
But he only brings
But
one
you can
name.
advertise like that and get some applications going, just like we do the other ones.
One name for each position.
But we're advertising right now for the planning commission, and it doesn't state what planning commission, so
You probably want to be more specific
I
on this
think,
one.
I think we'd want to restate, this would be specific for the J-Spot planning area and redo something just for this. And if people that have already applied want to apply for this, that's fine, that's not an issue. But I think we want to specifically say we have two different things we're looking at. One is the county planning commission, the other is the J-Spot planning commission, because they're separate things. You cold?
We'll find out. Thanks. Wearing a short sleeve shirt in January.
Okay, any other,
Sure.
any other questions? Doc, do you have what you need then for tonight?
I think so, yeah.
Mike, you got what you need? Move forward with this?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right, let's go to manager